loved that poem, and but I thought also thematically that it really fit, because the idea of these women sort of being kept in this tower, in a sense, but wanting to be able to go out into the world, and I wanted to subvert that poem in a way, because of course she dies, and I thought, well, what happens?
Dude, you just gave away the ending of the Lady of
I'm cruel like that.
What happens with the sword that's in the stone? Did you get it out? No, don't tell me.
Oh, good times. So that was why I chose The Lady of Shalott, because I thought that thematically it really fit, and I also wanted to be able to it annoyed me that she dies, and I thought, no, I want these girls to live, mostly.
Yeah.
So a question for David. I mean, you've already said you like to go to new places with every book. Having said that, aren't you a little bit intrigued to want to go back to places that were really wonderful and witty, like in Boy Meets Boy? I mean, that was a cool place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, the answer is no. And this is one of the, and I'm going to smile at Anna because Rachel's sister's here. This is one of the fundamental disagreements that Rachel Cohen, who I wrote Nick and Nora and Naomi Eli and the forthcoming Dash and Lily with, and we've totally approached our books differently. For me, when a book ends, it's over. Like, I never think about the characters, what happened afterwards. I never speculate. Like, the story ends at a certain point because that's where the story ends. And it's very wrapped up for me. It's sort of its own piece. Whereas Rachel talks about, she always is thinking about, oh, what happened to Nick and Nora the next night? Or, oh, where did this go? And I think it's just different ways that you approach a story and approach characters. And I can't explain why one person would think one way and one the other. It's just the way that you approach your story. So while many people have asked me for sequels of various books, or to continue, it's like staring at a blank screen. Like, it's not that I know the story, oh, I know what happened, and I'm just not telling it. It's genuinely the story's over for me.
Are you ready to start the Libba Bray story?
Well, yeah, every book I write is really the Libba Bray story. Your gay childhood. Anyway.
I was going to let you, too.
I know. So it's interesting. I mean, I feel that I will do variations. I mean, I joke that my book, Wide Awake, the one that starts with the first election of the first gay Jewish president of the United States, is the spiritual sequel to Boy Meets Boy, because the main characters there have been dating for a year. It is a very different place, but it's really what the town in Boy Meets Boy is. It's sort of looking at it at a national level. So I thought in the back of my mind thematically there were linkages, but I didn't want it to be the same two books. Like, I really wanted to do it differently. Do you like think about your characters after the book is over?
We actually have been having lots of parties amongst the Evites. I do, but I've moved on. There's something else that I want to write. I think probably the instance where I do think about it is with the trilogy, because occasionally I think, well, what would it be like to write about these girls a year later, or 2 years later, or 3 years later? But then sometimes I think, no.
It's hard for the readers, though, because after we get done, we always want another one.
Of course.
We do want number 8, Harry Potter. Even though we know it won't happen.
That's actually what I'm writing next.
You become involved with the characters, and you really, you are in with that, and then it's fun.
You can always read fan for Claire's Harry Potter fan fiction.
I was going to say, actually, fan fiction is where it lives on.
Libba, when your son would be old enough to read Going Bohemian, what do you think his reaction would be to it?
I think this is so boy. This is right up his alley. He's a little absurdist. He really is. Oh, he made these shoes for me, by the way. To show my shoes. my Josh shoes. Yeah, he already gets Monty Python, so he's well in his way. They've got the chains they're gonna hold us up. Yeah, I think this will be right up his alley.
Which woman with the camera are you pointing at?
The lady in the
Okay, jacket first.
Okay. I was wondering at the end of the sweet bar thing, you know, the incident with the certain.
On page
male-
779.
I'm not sure the page number.
Don't give away the
Was that something? I assume it was difficult to write. Was that something you ever tried to fight against, or did you always know that it would end that way?
I fought it. I really fought it. This was actually, speaking of, I'll bring up Holly again, because Holly is, she's really so wonderful at being able to help you when you feel stuck. I call her Magic Systems Are Us. And, but I remember having this conversation with her. I was on the phone, I was in the kitchen, and I was saying, I don't know, and she was saying, well, does it really have to be that way? You know, we went back and forth, you know, what if this person becomes, you know, a folk dancer? Opens the first pizza joint. It was something I really fought, and I kind of knew at the end of Rebel Angels that it was heading that way, especially because of the whole idea of fate versus free will. You have two characters espousing different ideals, but it was very, very hard, and I had a lot of second thoughts about it, but ultimately it felt like that was the right thing to do for that character. And yeah, it was very hard. I cried.
I know this might sound like an unintelligent question, but
I love those because I'm really not that intelligent.
how do you pronounce Dirk's name?
Well, I always say that however a reader pronounces the name when he or she reads it is how it should sound to them. Because I feel like once you've written the book, the reader owns the book. But I say Circe, like the ancient Greek goddess.
No.
Or sorceress, rather.
We've been fighting forever.
But, you know what? If you pronounce her name, Circe Ramalama Ding Dong, if you pronounce her name David Levithan, that is how the name should sound to you. I pronounced Kartik's name Kartik, because I worked with a guy named Kartik that I had a huge crush on. And so that's how he pronounced his name. And I'd had quite a few Indian readers who'd written in and said it's actually Karthik. But the sort of Americanized version of that becomes Kartik, because the TH sound becomes like a T. So they said that actually it's accurate to say Karthik. So, and then I'd heard people say Katrick, and you know, I'm like,
I thought he was Irish. What do you mean he's Indian? Now I feel stupid. Do you have a question over there? Yes.
Actually, I wanted to know how much of your plot do you know when you go into a book? I mean, you know, with something like it must be a lot more difficult to plan out, you know, all of the stuff that's going to happen from the beginning to the end. How much changes as you're going through, probably part of the ending as well.
I was 6'2" when I started. That's how hard it is. No. I'm just letting you go.
Okay, no, I mean, I never outline, so I never really know. I usually think I know what the ending is when I start, so I know which direction I'm going in. 80% of the time I end up going either in a different direction or I go farther. Like, for Love is the Higher Lot, you would think it's based on calendar of events. You would know where it goes, and I really thought it would actually end with the lighting of the lights. And then I got to that point and just kept going, and it ends significantly a couple of years actually after that. So I never really know until I'm there. And again, a lot of the times I'll know what the actual ending is going to be, but the getting there is the crazy part.